Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to your second lesson of grade 6 curriculum based task problems. So, we will do some practice today. Welcome. I am Shanika. I'd like for you to type hello in the chat so I know that you're here. Welcome, Jalen, Terrica, Gabriel. Welcome to Jasta Bliss. Welcome to Dominique, Cordelia, Zaria, Theo, Tiana, Nathan, Nazareth, Gabriel, welcome. Doreen, welcome. Welcome, Donna, Latonia, Yvonne, KK, Casey, welcome. Paloma, Crystal, welcome. Rajid, Rikela, thank you so much for joining. This is our second lesson. What I'd like for you to do now is to share this link with any of your friends who will be doing grade 6 exams this year, classmates, maybe fellow teachers, or fellow parents, so that they can also benefit from this live session. Now, as you are preparing for this session, I would like for you to have your pencils and your notebook ready. Welcome to my grade 6 students. I can see that some of my grade 3 students are also here. Grade 3 will have their session on Monday to Thursday at 4 p.m. next week. Welcome, Kentine. Welcome. So we will begin in about 1 minute. If you are new here, please go ahead and subscribe and like this video so that you never miss any of our live sessions. All right. Another thing, can you tell me which school you're joining us from? Go ahead and type that in the chat. Welcome, Ken. Welcome, Chalicia. And also note that tomorrow at 10 a.m., we will be doing some ability test practice. So go ahead, share this with your friends. Make sure none of them misses it. Welcome in the House, Kensington, Mount Salem, Runaway Bay, Mount Liberty, Angels, Garlogie Primary, St. Aloysius, Mount Liberty, Jackshill. Welcome. Welcome. So in the morning at 10 a.m., we will have a next session, but that one will be of ability test. Welcome, Green Island, Nazareth Primary, Bartons, Elkham Park, Beulah. Welcome. Now, time for our rapid answer questions. Welcome, Bulbay. So you're going to answer as quickly as possible. First correct answer in the chat. First question. What is 125 plus 17? What is 125 plus 17? Welcome, License. Canil from Garlogie. Welcome, Portsmouth. What is 125 plus 17? Good job. First one, Gabriel. Awesome. 125 plus 17 is indeed 142. Good job, guys. Next question. What is 6 times 8? What is 6 times 8? Hi, Shalise. What is 6 times 8? First correct answer from Nazareth. 48. Good job. Good job, Nathan. Gabriel. Latonia, good job. 6 times 8 is 48. Good job, Shalise. Next question. What is 90 divided by 9? What is 90 divided by 9? First correct answer in the chat. Good job, Kentian. Good job. 90 divided by 9 is 10. I can see many 10s coming in. Good job, guys. Awesome. You guys have quick brains. What is half of 60? What is half of 60? First correct answer in the chat. What is half of 60? 30. All right. Ken says 30 first correct answer. Good job. Good job to all of you who are saying 30. Thank you. Good job. And the last rapid response question, what is 100 take away 37? 100 take away 37. 100 take away 37. I'm seeing some answers here, but these are not yet correct. All right. First correct answer, okay, I see, is Gabriel. She says 63. Good job. 100 take away 37 is 63. Awesome. Now, again, we will be working on some grade C curriculum-based task questions for grade 6 students who are preparing. We will be working on 15 questions this evening. I know it's been a long week, so we'll just look at 15 questions this evening. And we will also have another session 10 a.m. tomorrow, which is Saturday morning. Let's go to our first question. Welcome to those who joined us a little bit late. Make sure you have your pencils and notebooks ready. The first question says, the table below shows the amount of milk in liters needed to make different products. Use the information in the table to answer question 16. So I'm seeing persons putting answers in the chat. Maybe because you did this at school already, maybe because you have seen this question already. But I want to see your explanation in the chat. I want to see your workout in the chat. Okay? So I'm looking for your answer, but I also want to see your workout in the chat. The first workout I will acknowledge by reading. So let's go. It says, which 3 products will require exactly 4 liters of milk altogether? Here we have bun. Bun takes 1 3/4 liter of milk. Cookie will take 1/3 liters of milk. Cake take 2 liters of milk. Cheese takes 2.5 liters of milk. Yogurt takes 3 1/3 liters of milk. Pancake takes 1/4 liter of milk. I'm seeing some explanations so far. Let me just scroll back up real quick. All right. So I'm seeing Terika saying 1/4 plus 1 3/4 plus 2. So which answer would this give us? Would this give us, Terika? Rikayla says add 1/4 plus 1 3/4 and 2, and you will get 4 liters. All right, that's 4 liters. What are these products, Rikayla? Nikayla is also saying the same thing. Relisa Watson says pancake, bun, and cake, which is 1/4 for the pancake, 1 3/4 for the bun, and the cake would be 2 liters equal to 4 liters. All right, good job. Thank you so much for those explanations. Let us see if you are correct. So persons are saying that the correct answer is pancake, bun, and cake. Let us see if that indeed adds up. For me personally, I'd really like to start from the first one, A, because if you're in a test and you have never seen these questions before, that's how you would start. So let's start by working out cheese, yogurt, and bun. The cheese is 2.5 plus yogurt 3 1/3 plus bun 1 3/4. Let's look at the wholes. We have 2 liters here, 3 liters here. That's 5 liters. This one 6 liters. Therefore, you can see that this cannot work. This has exceeded 4 liters of milk altogether. So this one will not work. Let's think about the cookie, the pancake, and the cheese, because we're working each to see which one is correct. So it's best to approach your questions like this by working each to see which one is correct. So let's look at cookie. Cookie is 1/3 plus the pancake, that's B, plus the pancake 1/4 plus the cheese 2.5. And we can go right ahead and add these fractions. So first, when we're adding fractions with different denominators, we have to find the lowest common multiple. What would that be? What would that be? The lowest common multiple for the denominators 3, 4, and 2. The lowest common multiple would be what? Let's see. Lowest common multiple, also known as the LCM. Raquela, Ralisa says 12, correct. Now we can work this out. So we can say 12 divided by 3 is 4. 4 times 1, 4, plus sign. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 1 times 3 is 3. Plus 12 divided by 2 is 6. 1 times 6 is 6. Now we can add all of these responses that we have here. Also keep in mind that we have this whole number 2 that we have not looked at yet. So 4 plus 3, that would be equal to? That would be equal to 7. 7 plus 6, that would be equal to? That would be 13. Now we have 13/12. As you can see, this fraction that we have is an improper fraction. So we would like to rewrite this as a mixed number. In so doing, we have to see how many groups of 12 we can get from 13, and that would be 1. And we have a remainder of 1, so we have 1 and 1/12. Now we had this old number here that we started with, this 2 from the 2.5. We would add that to 3, and now we would have 3 wholes and 1/12. As you can see, this did not give us 4 liters of milk. Therefore, this one is also not correct. So we already know that A will not work, B will not work. Let's try C. For C, we have the pancake, which is 1/4. Plus, we also have the bun, which is 1 3/4. And we have the cake, which is a whole of 2. All right. Now, as you can see here, this is quite simple for us to work out because the denominators are the same. So we just need to add the numerators. 1 plus 3 will give us 4. And the denominator remains the same, 4. 4/4 is the same as 1. So 4/4 is equal to 1. So this 1 plus this 1, our whole numbers, will be 2. And then this 2 would be 4. So as you can see, the pancake, the bun, and the cake give us 4 liters of milk altogether. So if your answer was C, awesome, good job. And I hope you did take the time to work these things out. All right. So I hope, persons, if you did not understand how to solve this, I hope that you understand after this explanation. All right. Good job. And I will encourage you again in your test. When you have things to work out, don't be shy. Go right ahead, work them out. And leave your workout neatly next to the question. Good job. Let's now go to the next question. The next question says, the diagram below represents the distances between town A, between point B, and the town C. Peter traveled in a straight line from town A to town C. So we'll use this diagram to answer question 17. Peter stopped at point B. What percentage of a journey did he cover? So Peter stopped at point B. Did he cover 4%, 20%, 40%, or 60%? Put your answers in the chat and explain why. Put your answers in the chat and explain why. So I see Kentian saying 40%. So is Cheese and Cream saying 40% and Raquela. But why? Doreen is also saying the same thing and Nick Queen. But I'd like an explanation for your answers. Cordelia also saying 40%. But why do you say 40%? Peter stopped at point B. What percentage of the journey did he cover and why? So Paloma saying C because it hasn't reached halfway. That's a good way to look at it. All right, that's a good way to look at it, Paloma. Let me see as well. Doreen is saying because it's not halfway. All right, let me see some other explanations. All right, Latonia says because the point is not fully halfway. So why couldn't it have been 20% then? Because I see many of you explaining that it's not fully halfway. But what about the 20%? Raquela says 4 tens times 100 equals 40%. But where did you get that 4 from, Raquela? Dominique says each square would represent 10 because the whole would be 100. So there are 4 squares in between point A and B. So the answer would be 40%. I love this response, Dominique. This is the response I'm looking for. Awesome. Also, Raquela, your response was also good. Both of your responses were good. I want us to think about it moving from point A. From point A, town A here, to town C, let's see how many spaces are in between. So we know that if we're thinking about percent, we're thinking about from town A to town C, it has to be 100%. Now let's count the spaces in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if there are 10 spaces between town A and town C, and we're looking to have 100%, each space can be represented, can represent 10 as well, 10% of that whole line. So we could say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Very nice. So we could count by saying what percent? 10%. Let me change my color ink here so we can see what I'm doing. 10%, 20%, 30%, 40% before point B. So if you said 40%, your answer is correct. But I also like the way Raquela used math and set it out certain way to answer this. She counted 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces to get to point B, and she said 4 out of those 10 spaces times 100. That's how she solved it. So you can solve it either way, whichever one is easier for you, whichever one relates to you best. So if we have 4 tens, because out of the 10 equal parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 from town A to town C, we can put our denominator to be 10. And town B is at 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. We can have 4 tens, and because we're solving for percentage, we multiply by 100. Okay, so now let us reduce. We can always, when you have something like this is something that I know many of you have learned. I saw you explaining it to me yesterday in the chat. You can just cancel out a 0 with a 0, because 10 into itself goes 1 time and 10 into 100 goes 10 times. Same thing. Okay, now that we have that, the denominators are all 1. We just say this is equal to 4 times 10 equals to 4 times 10, and 4 times 10 is equal to 40. So we have a 40%. So we have done this 2 ways. Take the way that is easier for you. All right, good job. I hope many of you understood, because I could see where some said that they didn't quite understand in the chat. So I hope you now understand. Awesome. Now we're at question 18. It says here, 50 sweets were shared between John and Mark in the ratio of 1 to 4 respectively. What was Mark's share? Kindly note that when you see respectively, it means in that order. So they say John first, John represents 1, then Mark would represent 4. That's what respectively means. In that order that they would have stated the names or the objects matching the ratio. So 50 sweets were shared between John and Mark in the ratio of 1 to 4 respectively. What was Mark's share, and how did you get to your answer? You'd notice that for many of my questions, if not all, I want to know how you'd get to your answer. Rakela says 1 plus 4 equals 5, and 4/5 times 50 equals 40. Wow. I think Rakela is very good when it comes to setting out things like with formulas and so on. All right. Paloma says A because Mark is 4, so 40 sweets. That is correct, Paloma, but it's also incomplete. We want to know where you're coming from with this. Jassa Bless says 40 plus 10 equals 50. But how did you get those numbers? All right. Way to go, Rakela. Awesome work. All right. So let's think about this. When we think about ratios, it's almost like we're looking at fractions as well. So if we have 1 part for John, 4 parts for Mark, we can think about the whole being 1 plus 4. 1 plus 4, that would be 5. So we can rewrite this as a fraction. 1 part plus 4 parts will give us 5 parts. That's the total amount. Okay, so we add the parts from the ratio. Next thing, it asks us about Mark. Out of those 4 parts, 5 parts, 4 of them was for Mark. We have 4/5. So since we have 4/5, Mark's portion was 4/5. We want to see what is 4/5 of 50. When we say 4/5 of a number, it means 4/5 times that number. We can say 5 divided by 5 is 1. And 50 divided by 5 would be what? Who can tell me what is 50 divided by 5? $50 divided by 5 would be 10. Thank you, Karine. Now we can say, now that our denominators are all 1, we can say 4 times 10. And 4 times 10 is equal to 40. That's how we figured out that Mark has 40 sweets. Good job. Okay, Relisha is also doing a lovely explanation here. So is Chelsea. Good job. And cheese and cream. Good job. Awesome work. Thank you for your efforts in explaining. All right. Let's now move on to our next question. Good job, guys. Here it says, examine the rope below. It measures 300 centimeters. We're going to use this to answer item 19. Now, the entire rope, as you can see what it measures, and you can also see this part that is being indicated. The question says, a piece of rope which measures 240 centimeters was used to tie a box. What percentage of the rope was used to tie the box? Percentage again. And we know that percentage means out of 100. All right. So how do we solve this one? What's the correct answer and how do we solve it? I see Ochardo. I'm also seeing Nick Wayne giving some answers. But how did you get to your answer? All right, Doreen is saying 240 plus 60 equals 300. Okay. Karine is saying 240 over 100. Multiplied by 300. Well, that could easily give us the same thing. That's not how you would quite represent it. All right. Let's see here. I'm seeing persons also giving another answer, 60%. But I need explanation. Laverne is saying you can simply add 240 by 60 and give you 300. But it asks you what percentage of the rope. So we're looking at percentage. Good evening and welcome to those who are just joining. So, okay, let me see what Rakela has. Rakela says 240 over 300 times 100 equals 240 divided by 3 equals 80. No, that's a lovely explanation there. Oh, actually, lovely workout. Teacher Harvey says you put 240 over 300 and you multiply that by 100 over 1. My time is saying the same thing. All right. Okay, I'm seeing another explanation here. You can subtract 240 from 300, then you put it over 100, which gets you 60%. All right. So I'm seeing many different explanations here, and majority of them are correct. So let's go ahead and work this out together. All right. So here, when we're working this out, let me just get my pointer back. When we're working this out, it's best to think of, it asks us what percentage of the rope. It's best to think of the whole rope. The whole rope is 300 centimeters. The part of the rope used to tie the box is 240 centimeters. Straight away, we can represent this as 240 of 300. Because we want to know what percent this part is of the whole rope. In order to do that, we multiply this by what? Because you're finding percentage. What do we multiply this by? We multiply this by 100. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Karine and Gabriel, Relisa. Very good. Now, when we are not simplifying this, what we would do here, we can cancel out these zeros. You're in grade 6. Maybe you can learn to do this. Cancel out these zeros. That works. It's the same as saying 100 divided by 100 is 1, and 300 divided by 100 is 3. That's the same thing. Okay, so you can easily just cross out these zeros. 1 0 from a numerator cancels with 1 0 from a denominator, and so on. Now we have 240 at the top, and we have 3 left as a denominator. Now we can think of, can 3 go into 240 without leaving a remainder? And if it can go into 240 without leaving a remainder, what do we need to divide 240 by? And what will we have for our quotient? What will the answer be? So we can say 3 divided by 3 is 1. And 3 into 240 would be what? 3 into 240 would be, oh yes, it's my favorite subject, KK. Would be 80. Thank you, cheese and cream. Would be 80. 80 times 1 is equal to 80. And as you can see, the denominators are both 1. Therefore, our answer is 80%. Good job for those who got this. For those who didn't quite get it at the first time, it will be useful for you to even take a screenshot of this, but also remember that this video will remain on my channel. You can watch it as many times as possible to help you to understand all these questions better. More practice means you will definitely be scoring great in your exam. Good job. Good job, guys. Awesome. The next question says, the 3 tables below show 3 classes. Class A, Class B, and Class C. The number of girls in each class is shown, as well as the percentage of girls in each class. Use the information given in each table to answer item 20. So here we go. We have Class A. The number of girls in Class A is 8. We have eight girls in Class A. Percentage of girls is 50% of the class. So what is the total number of students in this class? That's what I want us to be working on. Before we even ask and answer this question here, we will be finding out what the total number of students in each class is, because that's what we need to solve these problems. So we're going to be working this step by step. How did you solve it? I see Ochardo saying Class A totals to 16, but how did you get that? I want to see some explanation, some workout in the chat. We will start with Class A. So before going to Class B, let us work out how many students are in the class. If there are 8 girls, and the 8 girls represent 50% of the class. All right, so we're working out the number of students in Class A. That is what we're doing. So I'm seeing people saying B in the chat and all of that, but that's not what we're working. We want to solve these parts first before we get straight to the question. Now, I see Karine says Class A is 16 because 8 over 50 multiplied by 100 is 16, and Class 8 is 20 because 8 over 40 multiplied by 100 is 20. I like your explanation, but when we're talking about percentage, we're thinking about what do we put the percentage over? So we're not writing the number of girls as a percent. We're not writing that out of 100. But if we have percent, how do we write that? Ochardo saying if it is 50%, then you will need to multiply 8 by 2 and you'll get 16. All right, that's a quick way of thinking. Cheese and cream saying 8 over 40 times 100 equals 20. I'm not sure what we're solving here. Kentian says 8 over 50 times 100. Okay, so let us work this out bit by bit. 8 girls, they represent 50% of the class. Now, 50% we know is half. So if half of the class is 8, the next half has to be the same thing, right? 2 halves make a whole. Half of the class, which is shows 8 girls. That means the next half, there are how many boys in this class? How many boys does it mean? If half of the class is girls and there are 8 girls, how many boys will be there? Chelsea says the number of girls in the class is 8, and it is 50% of the class, which is half of 100. In total, there are 8 girls and 8 boys. Very good, Chalicia. Very nice. So if there are 8 girls and 8 boys, the total number of students will be 16. So for those who said class A has 16 students, you are correct. 16 students. Let's look at class B. The number of girls is 8. There are 8 girls. But this time, 8 girls represents 40% of the class. So how many are boys? And what is the total? So let us think about how to solve class B. And thank you so much for your explanations in the chat for class A. So let's now start working out class B. Good job, Ochardo. Awesome work. Okay, Amir, you say that class B has 20, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but how did you get 20? One teacher, Harvey, how did you get 20? Akila says 40% times x equal 8. So 8 divided by 40% equals x. Okay. You're onto something. Maybe the order of your numbers may need some fixing. All right. So I'm seeing some explanations here. All right. So now let's work on this. I want to work on this the simplest way. So let me think about having a whole. We have 40% here, and 40% is out of 100. So I would say then maybe this is 40. Another one, 40, that is 80%. And then 20 makes it 100%. I may call this 40%, 40%, and this is 20%. Just a simple way to approach it. Because after all, the total number of students in the class will be 100%. If 40% is the same as 8, equals to 8 girls, or 8 in general, then this other 40 is also 8. And if 40 is 8, what is 20? If 40 is 8, what is 20? If 40 is 8, 20 would be what? Thank you, Dominique Stewart. Would be 4. And then we can add all of this. We can see how many students there are. And this is a simple way of working it. Thank you, Laverne and Karine and Akila. 8 plus 8 is equal to 16. And 16 plus 4 is equal to 20. So you were correct when you said there are 20 students in class B. Now, Let's take a look further at Class C. Class C is already complete. It tells us that 8 girls are in this class. 8 girls represent 20% of this class, and this class has a total of 40. Now we can answer the questions. It says, which statement is true? A, Class A has more students than Class B. B, Class B has more students than Class C. C, Class C has more students than Class A. Or D, each class has 40 students. Xavier says C. So does Amir and Doreen. Danique is also saying the same thing. Okay. Laverne is saying C. Crystal, Nasandria. All right. Very nice. Gaming, JC Gaming. All right. I'm seeing Karine saying B. All right. I'm seeing many persons here saying C, but I can at least see two B's. So let us go through this. We already know the total number of students. Class A has more students than Class B. Class A has 16, Class B has 20. So that's not true. Class A does not have more students than Class B. Let's look at this, the second option. Class B has more students than Class C. Class B has 20. Class C has 40. That is false. That is not correct. Let's look at C. Class C has more students than Class A. Here is Class C with 40 students. Class A has 16 students. That is correct. D says each class has 40 students. We just checked them. A has 16, B has 20, only C has 40. So that is incorrect. If your answer is C, good job. And for those who said B or even gave another answer, I hope now you understand the explanation in the chat. I want you to put a thumbs up if you know and understand this explanation so that I know that we're good to go. All right. But for those who still did not get an understanding, remember this will always be on the channel. You can go back and watch it. Awesome work. All right, Rosemary. Let's move on to our next question. Which problem can be solved by adding a half and a third? Which problem can be solved by adding a half and a third? We'll go through them step by step. A says, Jake puts half of his pencils into an empty bag. He then puts another half of his pencils into the same bag. What fraction of his pencils are now in the bag? What would Jake need to do to find his answer for this? Will he be subtracting, adding, multiplying, dividing? What will Jake be doing here with the half and the third? How will he find this out? How will he solve this problem? Okay, thank you, Laverne. Yes, he will have to add. So he would add a half and a third. So as you can see, the problem, the A problem can be solved by adding a half and a third. Well, let's go to B and let's see what B says. Jake puts half of his pencils into his desk. He then gives a third of the pencils in his desk to Lacey. What fraction of Jake's pencil did Lacey receive? Here it says Jake puts half of his pencil into his desk. He then gives a third of the pencils that are in his desk to Lacey. Can we solve this by adding a half and a third? Yes or no? Put that in the chat. Can this be solved by adding a half and a third? Because it's here asking what fraction of Jake's pencils did Lacey receive? Thank you, Nazareth. No. Thank you, Sweetie Miller. No, we cannot solve it by adding a half and a third, because while he put a half of his pencils in his desk, he then gives a third of the amount he put in his desk to Lacey. That's not adding half and a third. Let's look at C. Jake gives half of his pencils to Bill and some of his pencils to Kimmy. What fraction of his pencils did he give to Kimmy if he now has a third remaining? Could we add a half and a third to solve this problem? Why or why not? No. Laverne says no. Rosemary says yes. Doreen is saying no. All right. So we could not. Because here, if he gives half of his pencil to Bill and some to Kimmy, and we're asking how many he has remaining, then he is giving away. So of course, we will not add to find this answer. Let us check D. Okay, Akila says a clue remaining means to subtract. That's a keyword that we can think about in context. D says Jake gives half of his pencils to Jill and a third of the remainder to Bill. What fraction of his pencils does he have left? Will we add or subtract? Could we add a half and a third and correctly solve this problem? All right, I can see person saying no here in the chat. Very good. So we found out that if we have a problem such as A, we can solve. We already found that out when we discussed it at the beginning of this question. Good job. So for those who had said A, awesome. All right. Let's go to our next question. 5 numbers are shown in the box below. The value of the digit 2 is less than 1,000 in each of the numbers in the box. Examine the numbers carefully, then answer item 22. For which of the following is the value of digit 2 also less than 1,000? So we want to see which of the following the value of the digit 2 is also less than 1,000. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to just put a line under the digit 2. Based on the place of the digit 2 in A, B, C, or D, which one of these numbers is also less than 1,000? Go ahead, put your answer in the chat. Go ahead, put your answer in the chat. I want to see the number in the chat. All right, so Tamara says a 2 in the hundreds place. That's a very good way of looking at it. Good job. So does Dominique says a 2 in the hundreds place? Most certainly. Gabriel is also saying this similarly. All right, so is Laverne. Good job. I'm also seeing Akila saying the same thing. So if we had a 2 in the hundreds place, or a 2 in the tens place, or a 2 in the ones place, then that would definitely give a number less than 1,000. So your answer, as I can see, Teacher Harvey put in the chat, is 1,234. That would be A. Good job. All right, good job. Okay. Now that we are about halfway through today's class, I want to ask a quick brain break question. If you had $100, would you rather to spend it all at once, to save it, to share it, or to invest it? Let me see in the chat. If you had $100, would you rather to spend it all at once, or would you save it, or would you share it, or would you invest it? Let me hear your thoughts. Nashelle says save it. Paloma says save it. Laverne is saying save it. Latonia says save. Paloma says save it. Jassa Bless says save. All right, all right. We are all a big group of savers. Kenty and Nasandria. Laverne is saying Nick Queen, Nick KK is saying save it. Everyone is saying save it. Wow, Christine says to invest it. So does Shamika. She says to invest it. All right. Gabriel says share and invest. Nice. All right. KK saying save it or invest it. All right. Oh, J Gaming says spend it on a homeless person. Rosemary saying investment. And guess what? You know, the future is coming to a place where it's good to have investments. All right. Now let's move on to our next question. So we're going up to question 30 this evening. We're now at question 23. 4 students were asked to determine the value of 2 to the 4th power. Their calculations are shown in the box below. Use the calculations to answer item 23. This is what Nick says. 2 as the base, 4 as the exponent. He says 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Colin says 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Anne says 2 times 4. And Eve says 4 plus 4. Which student's calculation is correct? Okay. Persons are saying D. I see Paloma saying 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Somebody's saying, Gabriel saying miss, it's Nick, because I have learned that when doing exponential form, you must multiply each number and you will get the result. Each number. Okay. Nasandria says the exponent is how much time the base is being multiplied. I love that. I love that. I love that explanation, Nasandria. Let us work on that. Let us go with that. Now we have 2 to the 4th power. Or 2, which is the base. And 4, which is the exponent. So when we have the base, the exponent tells us how many times we're to multiply the 2. Not add the 2, but multiply the 2. Therefore, it says we're to multiply 2 4 times. 2 times 2, that's 2 times. Times 2, that's 3 times. Times 2, that's 4 times. And this is the same as Nick's thinking. Many of you had said D, and you are correct. For those who did not say D, I hope you understand when we have a base with an exponent, we have the exponential form of numbers. We are multiplying the base number by itself this amount of times. The exponent tells us how many times we're to multiply them, not add them. We're not saying 2 times 4 either. We're not saying 4 plus 4 either. The base number is what we're multiplying by itself. And how many times by itself we should multiply it? The exponent tells us we multiply it 4 times. Good job. All right. Now, question 24. Read the statements below carefully, and we're going to use it to answer question 24. There is no number greater than 5.69 that has 6 in the 10th place. That is what the statement says. But the question asks, which of the following shows that this statement is false? Because clearly this statement is false, but which one of these shows that the statement is false? Okay. Okay, so let's take a look here. Which one shows? I'm seeing A, B, C, D's in the chat. But which one shows? And why do you say that? Some people saying A. Why do you think A shows that the statement is false? Why do you say D shows that the statement is false? I'm seeing persons saying A and D. Garfield says D is 5.691. All right, so I'm waiting for some explanations. Khadija is also saying the same thing. Okay, so let me go through it while the explanations are coming. So here we have 5.69. And let's write this with three decimal places. Since all of these responses are showing 3 decimal places, how would we write 5.69 with 3 decimal places? How would we write that? Let me see your response in the chat. We can write it as 5.690. Very good, Nashelle. Yes, we write it like that with 3 decimal places. This way, it's easy for us to compare it with the answers given. Now, we're looking to see if there is a number greater than 5.690 to show that this statement is false. So A says 5.600. Here in the tens place, we have 6, the same as this 6. In the tens place, we have 0. 9 is more. So 5.69 is greater than A. That means this one does not show the statement is false. So let's go to B. 5.681. The 6 in the first, we realize that the ones place, all of them are the same. So we're going to compare with the tenths. Now the tenths in B is 6 tenths, the same as in 5.69, 6 tenths. The hundredths place has 8. In our number that we're working with has 9. So this does not show that this statement is false because 5.69 is greater than 5.681. So this one is not correct. But let's look at C. Again, the ones place remain the same as our number. The tenths remain the same as our number. The hundredths is the same as our number. And the thousandths is the same as our number. So these are equal. It does not show that the statement is false. It does not show that there is indeed a number greater than 5.69. So this is also not correct. At D, here again in the ones place, we have 5. In the tenths place, we have 6. In the hundredths place, we have 9, the same. In the thousandths place, we have 1. And in our number, we have 0. So that means 1, which is greater than 0. It means that D is our correct answer. That is the one that shows that the statement is false. For all who said D, good job. I bet I had some explanations here. So let me go ahead and look at these. All right, Chalicia says 5.96, 5.961 because it has the 1 in the thousandths place, and that's greater than 5.69. Tricia says D because there is 1 in the thousandths place, and that would be bigger than 0 in the original number. Good job. I would want to invest. Okay, I'm real cute. Explained what he do with his $100. All right, so those are some explanations I've seen. Thank you for your explanations. Thank you. Good job. Number 25 says, the line segment below shows 4 holes. Mario correctly selected point Q to represent an estimation of 220% on the line segment. Use it to answer item 25. So I want to see your responses in the chat for this and your explanation. Which of the following could not, let me put a line under that because that's important. Could not. Which of the following could not be his reason for choosing this point? A, 220% is just a little over 2 holes. B, any random point between 2 and 3 would be correct. C, point P is too close to 1 and point R is too close to 3. D, point Q is approximately 1/5 the way between 2 and 3, which is 20% more. Which one is correct and why? I'm looking for explanations. Which one is correct and why? I'll give you some time to think on it. Put your response in the chat. Oh yes, you are encouraged to subscribe to this channel so you can see whenever we go live. Another reminder, remember we have a 10 o'clock class in the morning to explore some ability test items. So it's important that if you subscribe, you will see when we're going live. All right. I want to see an explanation to your answers, guys. I'm seeing A, I'm seeing B, but I need to see explanations. Dominique says D because each of the spaces would represent 30. Okay. All right, I'm looking for more explanations here. All right. So let's work this one together. And I'll continue to look out for some explanations here. Okay. So here it says this line segment below shows 4 holes. 4 holes. Mario correctly selected point Q to represent an estimation of 220%. He says this is 220%. Now, each hole will represent how much percent? Who can tell me? What's the percent of each hole? So from 0 to 1 would be how much percent? From 0 to 1 will be how much percent? I see someone saying 110%, but we're talking about a hole. What would the percent be? I'm seeing Candice giving an explanation. Candice is saying because it is, if it was any point in between, it could land on R, which is not. Judith is saying because any random number between 3 and 2 would be correct. Latonia saying because other numbers like 230, 297 are also between 2 and 3. Thank you, Nazareth, for this response. All right, so from 0 to 1 is 100%. From 1 to 2 would be how much? Again, would also be 100%. So far, we have gone 100, 200%. And if we continue, 2 to 3 would also be another 100%. Now, and 3 to 4 would be another 100%, making the whole line segment 400%. Now, here it says, which of the following could not, very important, could not be his reason for choosing this point? So if we find the reasons he chose this point, those cannot be our answer. It's the one that would not make sense that we're finding. So A says 220 is just a little over 2 holes. That's correct. So maybe that's the reason why he chose this. Because if it's 200 here at 2, just a little more is about 220. So A is a reason he could choose it. So, you know, that's not the reason, the answer we're looking for, because A could work. B says any random point chosen between 2 and 3 would be correct. Someone in the chat explained that if we chose a number like 237, I think, I don't remember, 210, a number that would fall somewhere down here, and 200, maybe 97, that would fall somewhere up here. Any random number could not work. Because why didn't he say R then? That falls between 2 and 3. So we know that this one here could not be his reason for choosing this point, because we could choose anything in between here, but I mean, even R would not be 220. So far, this looks like the reason that he could not have chosen. Now let's look at B. At C, point P is too close to 1, and point R is too close to 3. Those are good points. So of course, those could not have been 220. D says point Q is approximately 1/5 way between 2 and 3. So here, 1/5 is approximately between 2 and 3. That's good, because if we're to divide this space here into 5, this would be about 1/5, which is 20% more. So of course, this is also a good point. But if you notice, B that says any random point between 2 and 3 would be correct. That could not have been his reason for choosing that point. So if you said B for your correct answer, good job. Good job. Let's go to number 26. Okay. Examine the conversation shown below between Mark and Ariel about the ratio 1 to 5. Use it to answer item 26. Mark, the ratio of boys to girls in our school is 1 to 5. That's what Mark said. Ariel says, okay, that means that the fraction of boys in our school is 1/5. And Mark says, you are wrong. The question asks, which of the following should Ariel have known about the ratio 1 to 5? So we want to see which of these she should have known about the ratio 1 to 5. The fraction of boys in the school is what? Because what? So let's see. Here it says A, 1/6 because it is 1 of 6 equal parts. B, 5/6 because it is 5 out of 6 equal parts. C, 6 because it is 6 out of 1 equal part. D, 6/5 because it is 6 out of 5 equal parts. What's your answer and why? People are saying A, some are saying D. All right. Okay, so I'm seeing different responses coming in. Some are saying A, some are saying someone is also saying C. All right. So Dominique says A because 1 plus 5 equals 6, and there is one boy, so the answer is A. That's what Dominique is saying. Nashel says A because if you add 1 plus 5, it would equal 6, and it would be 1 out of 6 parts. Akila says A because the total ratio would be 6, and boys equal 1, so 1/6 would be the answer. Laverne is saying same thing. All right. Okay. Now, I agree with your explanation, guys. You are so correct. Yes. First, we have to think about the total of students. So if Mark says the ratio of boys to girls in our class is 1 to 5, it means that 1 plus 5 would be the total. So there are 6 students, or an equivalent of 6 students in the class. But one part of the 6 parts would be for boys. Boys to girls, 1 to 5. So it would mean 1/6, 1 out of the 6 students. So A would be our correct answer. Okay, let's go to our next question. Good job for those who said A. For those who said another answer, I hope you have understood this explanation. Here we're at number 27. We're almost at the end. 4 students in a class were given the following grids and asked to write about the portion of each grid that is shaded. Use the grids as well as each student's response to answer item 27. Look at grid M. Grid M is divided into 100 parts. Grid N is divided into 10 parts. These parts are all equal. 100 equal parts, 10 equal parts. Now, these are the students' responses. Alex says 0.3 of grid M is shaded and 0.3 of grid N is shaded. That's what Alex says. Jen says that 0.03 of grid M is shaded and 0.3 of grid N is shaded. Now, it's important that you take note of what is happening here. It's a lot of 0s and 3s being thrown around in this box. Because when I first approached this, I thought that all the answers were the same thing until I looked much closer. Leah says 0.3 of the grid M is shaded and 0.03 of grid N is shaded. Milton says 0.003 of the grid M is shaded and 0.03 of grid N is shaded. The question is, which student's response about the grids is correct? That's the question. All right, so I want to see some responses coming in the chat. And usually, I'd like to see why. Latonia says B because grid M is 30 of 100, which is 0.03. Are we sure? And grid N is 3/10, which is 0.3. That explanation, the first part is not correct. So check the first part of that explanation. Nashel says because 100 divided by 30 equals 0.3 and 10 divided by 3 equals 0.3. Okay. KK says A, Alex, because both grids show 3 out of 10 equal parts shaded. This represents the decimal 0.3. All right. All right. Dominique is saying the same thing as well. Now let's look at this. Let's look at what Alex says. Alex says, and if you notice here, out of the 100 parts for grid M, maybe let's think about that first. The 100 parts, it's 30 out of 100 parts are shaded for grid M. For grid N, we have 3 out of 10 parts. Let's break this down. 30 out of 100. Remember, we can easily cancel out the zeros here, 1 from the numerator with 1 from the denominator, and we're left with 3/10. As a decimal, writing this as a decimal, we would have, who can tell me what is 3/10 as a decimal? Laverne says 0.3. Very nice. 0.3. If you read this, it would still read 3/10. 3 is in the 10th position, the 10th place. We have 3/10 here. As we can see from here, it is also equal to 0.3. Alex says 0.3 or 3/10 of grid M is shaded and 3/10 of grid N is shaded. That's what Alex says. And as you can see here, so we can see clearly that Alex is correct. But let's look at what Jen says. Jen says 3/100 of grid M is shaded and 3/10 of grid N is shaded. That can't be correct because it's the same portion shaded from each. Leo says 0.3 or 3/10 of grid M is shaded, and 0.03 or 3/100 of grid N is shaded, which is still not correct because it's the same portion for both. Milton says 3/1000 or 0.003 of grid M is shaded and 3/100 of grid N is shaded. That's also incorrect. So Alex is the correct person. All right. Good job for those who had said A, those who said something else. I hope that our workout and explanation helped you. All right. If you have been here so far with me in the chat, please send a heart if you are enjoying our session so far. And if you have actually learned how to explain some of these problems so far. We have 3 questions remaining. All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. All right. I know we're tired. Just 3 more to go, guys. Let's go. Next question. All right. The next question says, Jenny is solving 1/2 times 6/7. Jenny is solving 1/2 times 6/7. The diagram below shows the steps that she took to solve the problem. Use it to answer item 28. This is how Jenny is solving her problem. She has step 1, step 2, and step 3. The question asks, where did Jenny make the error? Did she make it in step 1 in the representation of 6/7? Oh yeah, I knew you guys were going to put 6/7 in the chat. All right. So did she make an error in step 2 in the representation of 1/2 of 6/7? Did she make an error in step 2 for C in the representation of 6/7? Did she make an error in step 3 in the representation of 1/2 of 6/7? Let's start with step 1. Step 1, divide a whole into 7 parts and identify 6/7. So here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 equal parts, as Jenny said she would be doing. And out of these 7 parts, she identified, see here from this arrow to this arrow, she identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So step 1 so far for her is correct. Let's look at step 2. Step 2, she have find 1/2 of 6/7. Now that we have identified 6/7 from here to here, she identified 1/2. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 on one side of the 1/2, as you can see here, and 3 on the other side. So here she found 1/2 of 6/7. This part is correct. All right, guys, let's get back to the focus here. Now let's focus on how to correctly answer this question. Step 3, add the number of 7s in 1/2 of 6/7. Now, in 1/2 of 6/7, we have 1, 2, 3 halves. But if you look here, what's it's adding? 1, 2, we have 1, 2, 3 7s. But in step 3, she's adding 1, 2, 3, 4 7s. But 3 is half. So that means there's an error in step 3. So the answer would be D. She did not correctly represent 1/2 of 6/7. All right, good job to those who said D. I'm seeing an explanation here. Yes, Akila, you are correct. Very good. All right. Same for you, Judith. Very good. Very good. Let's now go to question 29. 9. All right. Now in question 29, it says, the diagram below represents 2 bars of chocolate. Use the diagram to answer item 29. Both chocolate bars are equal in thickness. Which statement is true about the chocolate bars? Here it asks for the true statement. Let's take a look at bar M and bar N. A says bar M has more pieces of chocolate than bar N. Let me get my pen out here because I have to prove this. So let's see how many pieces of chocolate are in bar M. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Bar M has 12 pieces. And bar N has, how many pieces in bar N? Let's count them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 pieces are in bar N. So A says bar M has more pieces of chocolate than bar N. That's wrong. Let's put a little X there. Eliminate the answers. B says bar N has more pieces of chocolate than bar M. But that's also not correct. That's false. C says both bars have the same number of pieces of chocolate. Bar M has 12, bar N has 12. This looks correct so far, but let's check D. Bar N has twice the number of pieces of chocolate in bar M. So they're saying 2 times 12 is what bar N has. That would be 24, and that's not correct. So if your answer was C, good job. Tamara gave an explanation. Good. Jassa Bliss. Very good. Awesome, guys. Same Laverne has given an explanation. Thank you. Good job. All right. Now, before we go to our last question for the evening, I want to remind you that we have our next class tomorrow at 10 a.m. For those who will not be here live with us, remember this video and the one after tomorrow's class will be available on my channel. You can watch it even after you come from church or from when you come back from the market or wherever you're coming back, the video will be available. But I would love to see you live at 10 o'clock so you can engage with me in the chat and we can talk back and forth. Good job. Now KK is saying C, and she's giving a lovely explanation as well. Akila, very good. Akila also giving a good explanation. Now to our final question. Examine the equilateral triangle below. Its perimeter is 9 centimeters. So the equilateral triangle below, what does that mean if it's equilateral? If it's an equilateral triangle, what does it really mean? What does that mean? It's equal. All sides are equal. Thank you, Liath and Paloma, also Nasandri. Very good, Nasandria. So it means all sides are equal. It has the same length. 3 centimeters also here, 3 centimeters also here. Its perimeter is 9 centimeters. Because when we're finding the perimeter, what do? How do we find the perimeter? Those are some knowledge or some things that we also need to know and keep in mind. Yes, it's easy. All right. Yes, we add all the sides. Now, 2 of these triangles are placed together to make a new shape, as you can see right here below. Here you can see 2 of these triangles were placed together. Let's use them to answer item 30. Which of the following is the perimeter of the new shape? Let me see some answers in the chat and an explanation. Yes, Gabriel, all the sides outside or around. All right. Judith saying 12 because both of the shapes are the same, and that means they have the same measurement. So I add 3 4 times or multiply them and got 12. That is very good, Judith. All right. Dominique says because each of the sides measure 3 centimeters, so you multiply 3 times 5. Check your answer a little. Dominique. KK says each side represents 3 centimeters, so add 3 centimeters 4 times, and you'll get 12. All right. All right. Latone is saying something similarly. Check your answer, Nichelle. Now that we put them all together, the two shapes together, how many sides do we have? We have 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides. We're finding the perimeter. The inside here is not the perimeter. We're finding the perimeter of this new shape. And on the outside, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. And since they were equilateral triangles and each side measured 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters. As you guys have explained to me in the chat, we can add 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. Or we can multiply 3 4 times. Or we can multiply 3 times 4. That tells us the amount of sides. And that will be equal to 12. So your answer would be 12 centimeters. Good job. Yes, Candice, we have to add the boundaries, not the parts in between. Very good. Very good. Very important to note because perimeter is the total distance around. Now that we're at the end, I want to thank you all for joining. If today was your first class, remember to go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you know when we next come live or when I post a new video. Share this with your friends on WhatsApp, on however you communicate with your friends so they do not miss the lesson tomorrow. And I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. for ability test practice. All right. So all the very best. Make sure that at home you are practicing new questions each day. Every day, at least practice 15 questions. I have additional videos on my channel in the curriculum-based task playlist. Go ahead and you can click on that and do more practice in your spare time. Your exam is just around the corner. Have a lovely evening. Good to have you here. Bye-bye.